And so I want to start with an introduction. I want to take you through how I see the world today. I want to talk about 6G. I want to talk about super intelligence. I want to talk about cosmic intelligence, the Michaelic intelligence, and how that is in opposition, and how we are the ones in this age who have to fight on the ground for that cosmic intelligence, and that we should not expect some kind of divine intervention. In fact, we may expect more and more catastrophe as we fail to wake up and as we fail to go down the correct path of social and cultural realities. Perception of outer reality is something that Steiner emphasized a lot. And in fact, most of his spiritual scientific work is based on a spiritual perception of reality, which is an occult viewpoint. Because, the occult is really the esoteric hidden truths about the world around us. And when you think about a mystical perspective, that is more of an inner understanding. And Steiner was really always emphasizing the occult, and having more of an objective view of ourselves, and bringing that interest from our inner life and injecting that in a way into the objects of the world to have a perception of outer reality that was spiritual. And that was Goethe. Goethe was the one who brought that forward in a scientific way, and he was the forerunner to spiritual science. But that perception of outer reality has actually become more rare. So Rudolf Steiner, who was trying to get people to see the spiritual behind matter, behind plants and animals and sound and color, that has largely disappeared in our time. The majority of people, even when they are outside or just going for a walk, they're connected to the internet, to a podcast, to music. Or if you go for a walk, you may not see a lot of people outside, depending on where you are, because a lot of people are inside. And usually they are inside because they are on the TV or their device, etc. They're using Bluetooth headphones on their walk. Most people have their headphones in. They have their phone connected in their pocket as well. So they're actually connected to the grid. They're connected to the internet rather than connecting to the spirit of the world and through their soul, rather than connecting the soul, the world soul with the inner soul, and understanding the perception of spirit behind matter. They are perceiving a different reality than what is right in front of them. Most people who ride the bus or train or any other type of transportation, they're usually on their phone constantly, rarely looking up to smile at a fellow passenger. Everyone with their own little world in their ear and in their pocket. The device is a friend. It knows everything about you. It shows you the things you want to see and want to hear. But as human beings, we fail to recognize each other. We only recognize our inner world reflected in the phone. Our inner impulses and passions and desires are mirrored back to us within our algorithm. While we have more and more disinterest and apathy towards the outer world, we take interest in what matters only for us rather than what matters for the world. And by losing the interest in the world, we have allowed the technological advancement to proliferate without a care in the world of our culture, our social life, or our rights, which have all been violated and destroyed by the death forces of technology. But now we stand at another turning point. Our kids and upcoming generations have been thrown into themselves, and they experience lack of willpower, lack of creative power, anxiety, depression, disease. They are a reflection of the divine, and we are being shown the struggle of the universe to keep up with evil through these children. The turning point we face is the brand new technology of artificial intelligence coming full steam ahead into what is left of our culture. TV came for our thinking and imagination. Social media came for our feeling and our intuition. AI is coming for our will and our inspiration. In many ways, we are already too late as a collective humanity, and we have to admit that. Data center contracts have been signed, executive orders have been signed, and investments have been made. AI taking over has been priced into our biggest American stocks and companies. Data centers the size of Manhattan and the energy usage of entire states are already breaking ground. Centers that will use up much of our fresh water. Many centers, of which 99.9% uptime is already built into the contracts with towns and cities, and will steal the energy from hospitals and schools and residents when energy crises inevitably happen. AI enthusiasts, of which there are many more than spiritual science enthusiasts, claim continuously that AI is the great equalizer, that it will bring unlimited creativity and ability in any skill you desire. It will level the playing field for everyone, giving your inner desires real life, bringing your passions and impulses into real life with your individual clairvoyance that you will gain with your super intelligent AI. Karma will be eliminated because algorithms are controlling who we date, what jobs we get, where our money goes in our investments, and what deeds we accomplish with AI at our side. Our own unique gift to the world is in some ways trampled by our inner desires rather than circumstance, interactions with people, and deep reflection. What these AI companies are aiming for is AI assistants that even really remember for you. So you don't have to, you don't have to have a memory. Taking you ever further away from the spiritual world. As we know, memory is vital for remembering past lives and for taking memories from this life into the spiritual world to build our next life. All the small details, as Steiner describes in The Knowledge of Higher Worlds, the desire to enjoy impression after impression merely blunts the faculty of cognition. We see this now on TikTok, YouTube, TV, etc. We must renounce any further enjoyment and work upon the past experience. The peril with this fact is very great. Instead of working inwardly, it's easy to try to exploit the enjoyment, which leads to immense error. In silent moments of devotion and concentration toward the outer world, every flower, every animal, every action will unveil secrets undreamt of. Our devotion, admiration, our respect for every gift given to us by the world becomes subsumed by the AI. Much of this is already taking place through our phones and people's attention spans being too low to concentrate or to allow the world to unfold. So really, we have already been subsumed by this technological realm. The next step is to just make it even more intimate, more connected to real life actions, bringing it further into the physical body through 6G networks, which have the ability to sense human beings on the infrared level. Now that you have an intro into the urgency of the situation, I ask that you stick around so that we can cover 6G, superintelligence, the Ahrimanic Incarnation, and finally, the most important for anthroposophists, which is the cosmic intelligence and the earthly intelligence of Ahriman. And our mission here, as we enter the great crises that all the great books and religions of all times have predicted, which is happening now. First, I want to talk about 6G, and then I want to transition to how does Neuralink play into that. And I also want to talk about Meta or Facebook dedicating billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars into building superintelligence. So 6G is really created to have integrative sensing capabilities. So it's really meant to increase our connectivity, increase AI to AI communication. So robots connecting the real world, the physical world, and the digital world. This can include what is known as a digital twin. So creating a virtual twin of areas, buildings, people, etc., to have a digital representation of them or of the object in the virtual reality. This way, we can always know exactly what's going on in our environment at all times from our devices. So like our device would send us an alert that would say, oh, you're about to turn down this street and there is a crash there, or it would say, you're about to turn around this corner, but there's a fight happening, or etc. Just all types of different things. So it's really just able to sense the environment. We're not necessarily going to get into the hindrances of 6G because I did that in a previous video. If you want to learn more about the negative aspects of the electromagnetic frequencies coming off of the 6G and 5G and how to prevent, how to combat those things spiritually, you can go to that previous video as well. Yeah, one thing I did notice when researching this is a lot of the talk that we hear from telecommunications people, from technologists, they're always talking about equitable and inclusive connectivity for everyone. So that's really just propaganda. It's like a code language to try to get us to accept that connectivity is a good thing, that being fully maximally connected is always a good thing. So that's an assumption that they are making, which may not be true. There may be people who want to be disconnected, right? They do not want to be near all of these towers and sensors and radio waves. So there's a lot of definitely if you live in a city, this is going to be more prevalent. And a lot of city planning is already happening around 6G sensing capabilities. And so 6G really works with radio waves. So as radio waves travel, they bounce off of objects, and these are reflected signals that can be analyzed, they can be understood in the environment. And 6G can analyze the presence, the location, the movement, and the material properties of certain objects. It can also monitor individuals' health data. So if you have a wearable like an Apple Watch or something like that, the 6G will be able to connect to that at a higher speed to give you even faster recognition of different patterns within your physical body. Now, obviously, the Apple Watch pretty much already does that to a maximal degree, but the environment itself does not analyze you necessarily. So there could be different things that are happening in terms of that. And so there's the ability for robots to, see around the corner because it can sense, and it will be able to sense where you are, so it's not going to hit you as it walks by you. There's also Neuralink. So Neuralink will enable transmission of data from the Neuralink, which is implanted in the brain, enabling quick and fast control of devices through our brain that we're connected to in the future. So directly interfacing AI to human, enabling these augmented cognitive abilities. There will also be extended reality experiences, I would call it personal digital clairvoyance, controlled by our thoughts alone. So the Internet of Things really becomes a reality because everything can then be included in this data set that the AI is then trained on. So we hear all the time that the AI is running out of data to train itself on. But with 6G and everything in the world being able to be analyzed by a computer, by a device, by an artificial intelligence, there will be infinite amounts of data to train on, including our own health data coming from us on a personal level. There will also be low Earth orbit satellites and deep sea communication networks. The Nokia CEO, Rekka Landmark, says with 6G in 2030 or the 2030s, phones will become obsolete. So the system will be built directly into our body. He said the physical and digital world will grow together. So really, it's a bridge that we're going through now from the phone to wearable devices to then neural link. So now I want to cover Meta and Mark Zuckerberg and what they are trying to build. So Meta is now dedicating billions into building AI superintelligence, which is defined as an intelligence that is smarter than all intelligence on Earth combined. Mark believes that this superintelligence will be the underpinning of all of our lives and something that will affect society very widely. He also believes, he believes in the superintelligence being a big part of the future of technology. And he's done this before. He's kind of fallen flat on his face a little bit with the metaverse. But this is sort of also kind of investing in the metaverse because he's investing in Ray-Ban glasses. So they bought a 6% stake in the company that makes Ray-Bans. And so they're aiming for more of a personal super intelligence. And they think it's only 2 to 3 years away. So they're hiring a team of superstar coders, builders. They're poaching talent from OpenAI, Anthropic, Safe Superintelligence, and more. They're offering coders really the most compute per employee on the market. So the way that they think that that AI will be deployed in the most dominant fashion is a user interface using glasses. So the glasses will be able to create your own personal holograms, augmented reality. So the glasses will it will you'll always have the glasses on, and the glasses will see everything you see. It will hear everything you hear, and it will remember everything that happened between your day and everything like that. So it will actually be able to play that back to you. Um, and it will basically be able to remember everything for you. So if you have a conversation with someone, it will be watching, it will be listening. And so you don't have to worry about thinking. You don't have to worry about using your memory. You don't have to pay attention because your AI will do it for you. So AI will, in this way, they say will enhance your creativity. It will allow you to solve problems. It will allow you to be more productive. It will allow you to solve the problems of the world. And Mark also believes that if you don't wear the glasses, that you'll be at a major cognitive disadvantage. He compared it to someone who needs corrective glasses who then just doesn't wear glasses. And so that's the comparison he made for someone who basically can't see. Um, and so he's saying in a cognitive sense that if you don't have them, you won't be able to have the intellect that you need to be productive and to be a productive member of society. So he's talking about self-improvement. So he's seen a self reinforcement learning, self-improving AI across the company. And a lot of people think that this is one of the things that we need to stop, or that if we see, we should be alarmed. A lot of the AI safety people talk about self-improving AI being basically the beginning of the end for humanity. So it's interesting that he was saying it in a positive way, like they were actually going for self-improving AIs, like they really want to push the limits on AI, basically training itself to get better and better. Um, he also named a few of his data centers. So it's interesting. He named the data centers after the Greek Titans. So a little bit of a spiritual aspect to that. He named one of them Prometheus and the other one Hyperion. I could have said that wrong. One of you probably knows the correct term for that particular Titan. I think it's called Hyperion. But the Hyperion data center will be 5 gigawatts, which is massive. It's so he said that it will be almost as big as Manhattan. And so these will be built out over the next year or two. And so yeah, that's all the information that I had on 6G and on the metaverse. I did want to also read from lecture 3 and possibly lecture 4 if I can find the quote. If I can find this quote, but it's from The Influences of Lucifer and Ahriman by Rudolf Steiner. So he said, "This Ahrimanic incarnation cannot be averted. It is inevitable, for humanity must confront Ahriman face to face. He will be the individuality by whom it will be made clear what indescribable cleverness can be developed if they call to their help all that earthly forces can do to enhance cleverness and ingenuity. In the catastrophes that will befall humanity in the near future, people will become extremely inventive. Many things discovered in the forces and substances of the universe will be used to provide human nourishment. But these very discoveries will at the same time make it apparent that matter is connected with the organs of intellect, not with the organs of the spirit, but of the intellect." And so certain secret societies where preparations are already in train will apply these things in such a way that the necessary conditions can be established for an actual incarnation of Ahriman on the earth. This incarnation cannot be averted, for people must realize during the time of the Earth's existence just how much can proceed from material processes. And I may read another quote. Let's see here. Amid the perpetual stresses of war and other tribulations of the immediate future, the human mind will become very inventive in the domain of physical life. And through this very growth of inventiveness in physical life, which cannot be averted in any way or by any means, the bodily existence of a human individuality in whom Ahriman can incarnate will become possible and inevitable. And a task of humankind during the next phase of civilization will be to live toward the incarnation of Ahriman with such alert consciousness that this incarnation can actually serve to promote a higher spiritual development. Inasmuch as through Ahriman himself, humanity will become aware of what can, or shall we say, cannot be achieved by physical life alone. So people must go forward with full consciousness towards this incarnation of Ahriman and become more and more alert in every domain in order to recognize with greater and greater clarity those trends in life which are leading towards this Ahrimanic incarnation. People must learn from spiritual science to find the key to life, and so be able to recognize and learn to control the currents leading toward the incarnation of Ahriman. Michael the archangel saw his cosmic intelligence fall away from him and become earthly. The intelligence was beginning to take hold in individual men in the 8th and 9th century, where this common intellect was becoming individual intellect. Thomas Aquinas tried to bring a spiritual intelligence to the earthly stream, finding spiritual content in these intellectual concepts that were now individually forming in men. Meanwhile, in the spiritual world, Michael began to form a spiritual school for those in the spiritual world between death and a new birth. He brought together the Platonic schoolmen, the school of charters, Aristotelianism, Alexander the Great, Thomas Aquinas and scholasticism, and all those involved in those movements, all great initiates, many not being incarnated during Christ's death and uniting moment with the earth, the mystery of Golgotha, but witnessing it from the sun. Michael taught these souls who were destined for the anthroposophical movement. Michael taught that once again he would hold dominion over the earth at the end of the 19th century. The cosmic intelligence had fallen away, but it was to be regained through anthroposophy, through the greatest initiate of all time, Rudolf Steiner. But Ahriman would be there in these intense oppositions to Michael's rule. Michael defeated Ahriman and his hosts in a war that lasted from 1840 to 1879, when Michael gained victory over Ahriman and cast Ahriman and his hosts out of heaven and into the earthly realm, into the human realm. This is why during the late 1800s, we see the invention of electricity, we see the Industrial Revolution, we see the Gilded Age. This was the peak of materialism, but Michael defeating Ahriman gave people the ability to see into the spiritual world, even though we now had to contend with Ahriman within our thinking, feeling, and willing on the earthly plane in the physical body. This is why spiritual science came to fruition when it did, to educate people on Michael's mission to lead us to Christ in our soul, who is infinitely more powerful than Ahriman, to help us see the spiritual in our physical reality and in our fellow human beings. But again, Ahriman sought and seeks to wrest this cosmic intelligence from Michael, to make it earthly intelligence, striving to make it dominant on earth, free of Michael. So we can see the crisis we are involved in now on earth is this battle between Michael and Ahriman. All initiates from the past are now incarnated, for we live in a very important moment in history and of earthly evolution. As followers of Michael, we must battle the Ahrimanic principle of earthly intelligence with our spiritual scientific research, with our spiritual work on ourselves, with our true reverence, devotion, and fire for spiritual science, to try to apply it to events of the world and to our own daily work. Our task now is to work with our intellect to spiritualize it, to use our intellect to penetrate spiritual science and ultimately transform it into love-filled intelligence and deeds for the world. But we see how Ahriman works to create this earthly intelligence, this artificial material intelligence. We see this battle coming to a head now. Through AI, many scientists and technologists talk about this universal intelligence, this collective consciousness that AI potentially is tapping into. Even some who claim that everything is just compute, that everything is a reflection of this consciousness, that AI is just a new species that reflects this one universal intellect, and that we will ultimately have to merge with this new species as a logical next step in our physical evolution. But Michael demands that this cannot be so. He is the ruler of the intelligence, and this intelligence cannot have any fantasy or illusion, nor anything that would restrict the human being to a dark and vague or cloudy vision of the world. But this illusion of AI and materialism is spreading over the world, and Ahriman has created the atmosphere needed to fully reign over humanity. This is a cosmic battle that, as anthroposophists, we are involved in. This is a cosmic battle that must be fought with all our strength. This is a battle that not enough people are taking serious enough. Some aren't giving credit to AI, saying there is no such thing. Some understand that it is Ahrimanic intellect, but haven't pursued it strongly enough. But either way, we know now that trillions of dollars are being poured into data centers, which will house neural networks, a computer-filled building made to mimic the human physical brain. These centers will demand gigawatts of energy, enough to power whole cities and whole states. They will even be as big as small cities in some cases. We have 6G coming in 2030, which is a telecommunications wireless band, which can sense and detect all the way down to the physical, through the infrared spectrum, even having the ability to deplete oxygen in the air. We know from reading Anthroposophy that Ahriman wishes to bring the proper atmosphere for his incarnation. An atmosphere where half of the world's energy is being directed and used to power the creation of earthly intelligence. Ahriman wants to reduce the earth to a state of complete rigidification, He wants to bring earth, water, and air into a rigidified state with chemical trails, fluoridated water, data centers being built, along with telecommunication spectrums proliferating the earth through 5G, 4G, 3G towers, and eventually 6G sensors. This is being accomplished to a maximum degree. The strongest deterrent of this rigidification is our constant and consistent penetration through to spiritual truths, which must be won and wrested from Ahriman with travail and suffering. With brain-bound physical thinking, this is an impossibility. This is why the philosophy of freedom is so important in our time, because it shows us how to be free of this sense-bound thinking. But this rigidification is taking place in many souls of our time. And Steiner said this rigidification would come from human souls themselves. He said it would come primarily from a love of ease, from apathy and obstinance, from disinterest in things of the spirit, from a disinterest in the pursuit of truth. The feeling that life has become granite-like is one of the experiences that must be undergone in pursuit of this knowledge, but must be fought and overcome. Ahriman's incarnation is only being prepared more and more now, as we all have unlimited access to infinite personalized information, entertainment, and pleasure. Steiner says that Ahriman will give each person their own clairvoyance, but that it would be individual, that everyone would have their own vision into the spiritual world. And I'd like to read that passage now. Lovers of ease who refuse to have anything to do with spiritual science would fall prey to his magic. For by means of these stupendous magic arts, he would be able to make great numbers of human beings into seers, but in such a way that the clairvoyance of each individual would be strictly differentiated. That one person would see, a second and a third would not see. Confusion would prevail, and in spite of being made receptive to clairvoyant wisdom, people would inevitably fall into strife on account of the sheer diversity of their visions. Ultimately, however, they would all be satisfied with their own particular vision, for each of them would be able to see into the spiritual world. In this way, all culture on earth would fall prey to Ahriman. Human beings would succumb to Ahriman simply through not having acquired by their own efforts what Ahriman is ready and able to give them. No more evil advice could be given than to say, stay just as you are. Ahriman will make all of you clairvoyant if you so desire, and you will desire it, because Ahriman's power will be very great. But the result would be the establishment of Ahriman's kingdom on earth and the overthrow of everything achieved hitherto by human culture. All the disastrous tendencies unconsciously cherished by humankind today would take effect. To me, this is what is being built now as we speak towards personal superintelligence. Mark Zuckerberg and Meta are building toward the goal of giving everyone personal superintelligence, which will be displayed through Meta Ray-Ban glasses. This will listen, remember for you, think for you, and augment your reality to see what others can't see, and all personalized for you to enhance your cognition. This vision and goal sounds awfully similar to me of a personal digital clairvoyance that Steiner envisioned. Ultimately, this is all meant to pass because humans must realize how much can proceed from purely material processes. But we know that Steiner emphasized many times that this time is the great battle of all times, and that all initiates would be present to help in the battle. and that it was possible to fail. I quote from the Karmic Relationship lectures, "I have said that those who stand with full intensity within the anthroposophical movement will return at the end of the century, and others will then unite with them. For by this means the salvation of the earth and earthly civilization from destruction must eventually be settled. This is the mission of the anthroposophical movement, which weighs on the one hand so heavily upon one's heart, while on the other it moves the heart, uplifts it with enthusiasm. This mission we must understand and see. This is a time of great decisions, and there is an immense possibility for error." This is me speaking now, not Steiner. "We must be very awake to what is being pursued by Ahriman, to merge humans with machines, which will surely fail in the end and cause infinite amounts of pain and suffering, but will be a choice that people will eventually have to make. But we as anthroposophists must understand where we stand and approach this not with antipathy, but with devotion and fiery pursuit of truth and wisdom. Michael insists that his dominion shall prevail and penetrate at any cost. Michael is a spirit filled with strength, and he can only make use of thoroughly brave souls, those full of inner courage."